Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 70. Hoy, we're getting that much closer to the triple digits of the OG
I know.
technically Trek. I am your host, Dave Prime, and keep on forgetting to do that. Point that way. Is our Ditzy Witch Captain Katie? How are you doing this evening slash morning, my dear?
I am absolutely exhausted,
Mm.
and I may have re-ruptured the ligament in my ankle, but I am alive. I am here, and I also have a little friend with me as well.
Aw. See, I
Um,
I got a little friend too saying, see, I don't know what happened, but push balls used to be a really big thing years ago, and I found some. And this one's got a
oh,
little bit
I
of
remember those.
yeah, this one's got a weird little hair coming out of it, so I'm calling this one Harry. But they were $1 at Five Below, so I actually got a few of them. I got one hanging in my car. I got this one that I kind of play with while I'm driving. Saying it, it kind of calms me with my ADHD. But just like they didn't call them kush balls, but it's a freaking kush ball.
Yeah, well, it's a sensory thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's soft, it's
It's
fluffy.
absolutely brilliant. I love them. They're so soft.
Yes, I had one of the large like baseball sized ones back around oh god 2000s. That's 25 years ago. Working at a call center. And I was working the graveyard shift. It was for Yellow Cab, and one of these guys he was notorious for. He was a kid. He was a couple of years younger than me. He would stay up all day and then come work at night. He would think he could get paid to sleep. It's like, no. And we had just plexiglass cubicle walls. And one time I just got frustrated. I just grabbed the cush ball, chucked it across the call center wall, and it just went, bub, bam. You woke him up. I didn't do that often.
Tyson, I love you so much. And
This
you
is
know
the only
what's
one out
even
of the. This is the only one that's got hair on him. So, like I said, I called him Harry, and the one in my car, her name is Sally.
better? No, do you know what's even better?
Hmm.
Dave's got that, and I've got pussy.
I don't know if that.
My mother is crocheting a load of these different animals, and I decided to start wearing this
Mm.
on my finger, and she has become my little typing buddy.
Right on,
Yeah.
but yeah, funny that you mentioned about that. Say, there's goo in that first episode when they're
What was that?
pulling it.
Sorry.
There's goo in the first episode, Hegemony Part Two. See when
Oh, we all love a bit of
when
goo.
Lon's pulling the phaser rifle, it's just all covered in goo.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat goo. I'm sorry, but
But but kind of going along those lines, but not at the same time. Just a quick shout out to Our Lady Val. She is finally out of the hospital at home on the mend. So
that's so
yay!
cute.
But the hospital bills are still pretty horrendous. So anything anyone can do to help, like $1, $5, $1,000. I mean, there. I actually put the link down below this time for you to go to Val's GoFundMe to help pay for that. They're still not quite at goal, but every little bit helps. I'm hoping to be able to put some in there a little bit. Oh, Tyson,
Whose fault was that, Tyson?
probably mine.
I dread to think. It was
Like
Tyson's fault.
I was saying, there's a lot of chat going on there, but yeah. So I did get to make a quick stop at the DT TV studios yesterday, and things are looking great there right now. They just need to do some more background stuff, which I myself am working on, even though I'm going to be moving to another unit here, hopefully in the next week. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, saying the one of the owners to the sober house is going to be here for 12 hours on Friday. So picking them up at the airport at 3:30 in the afternoon, And I just had a realization he's going to need a ride back to the airport at 3:30 in the morning. So I was like, oh
Oof.
boy, that's going to be a long day.
It is. It really is. But you've got your dubby to keep you going.
Yeah, Sambo just got to stay sober, got to keep it going. But unlike a lot of the other Star Trek shows on here, we encourage live participation, not just with the chat in the YouTube, but you too can join in live on camera with us. And all you have to do is click the StreamYard link below, and then that'll get you over to us and calling it good. One of the things that I did learn at the studio is that they're trying a new program, which I'm going to kind of dabble with. So there might be some other changes in regards to the show. Besides, one of the things I want to do slightly differently, I talked with you on Discord about it, Katie, is kind of doing more of a round robin sort of thing. And say instead of just like everyone spitballing things, just kind of we'll focus on a topic of the episode, go around the circle, see what everyone thought of that, then kind of move on to the next. It's still a work in progress. So I mean, if we go back to the old format, it's good because surprisingly, I don't have a lot of notes on hegemony compared to Wedding Bell Blues, which is a definitely good episode to follow up all the insanity from hegemony. I just wish Hugo was here because no
So
one
do
can
I.
say it.
But I just want to give a shout out to Rose. She is always active with Dangerous Thoughts, and we are so glad to welcome you here, Rose. Mwah. And a fellow Brit as well.
Oh yes, and I almost forgot that one of the important things. Got to give a shout out to the business partner Debbie, as saying they put out a lot of great products. And if my brain wants to find it, there we go. If you go to w.gd and enter code TechTrek, you get 10% off your order. A lot of crazy flavors. I one of these days I got to just grab a screenshot and say, here are some of the flavors they have, like Grandpa's Denture Water. And okay, I was saying, well, good news for you, Tyson. There, I see a face palming, saying they are discontinuing that flavor. So hopefully, I get a chance to grab that before it goes. But if you want to check out some of the other flavors, they have a lot focused on the anime series Solo Leveling. The same, so those are a lot of great flavors. My tumbler's been replaced with my octopus tumbler tonight because I needed some hot tea to hopefully help control some of my coughing issues, which I'm going to be talking to my doctor about, but that's a whole other story. I could probably talk an hour about that. But we got three people backstage, so I'm going to bring them all on the line. We got Travis, we got Tyson, and we got our promotional coordinator, Zach Kinzor. How's it going, dude?
It's Kaiser, but whatever, man.
Kaiser, sorry.
Screwing it up. No, that's fine. How
Say
you
it up,
doing, man?
Tano.
It's been a while.
It has. Glad
It
to
is
have you
so
on
good to
board
see
tonight.
you, my darling.
Tyson, I think you're muted.
I think you no,
Well,
unless
I
he's
am.
Muted.
muted.
I'm sorry. No, it was my.
Oh,
So I was
yeah.
saying same place that I work. I work for Kaiser Permanente. So Kaiser. I mean, it's easy to remember.
But yeah, saying unfortunately, I lost the receiver for my headset, so I'm just going off the computers or the laptop speakers tonight. So apologies if the sound quality
And
isn't
I
as
need to just
good.
warn everyone, things might get a little crazy over here because I lost one of my earphones,
Oh dear.
at my book event at the weekend. So I'm only running on this one. So I might end up having to go through my webcam and my TV speakers. So I do apologize if that causes any problems towards the end of the show.
Well, wouldn't it be called technically trick otherwise?
Oh, yeah.
Technically,
Technical
I'll,
difficulties.
real quick, I just
technically.
wanted to say this before we really get into the show and stuff and everything else. Today was a sad day in the entertainment industry. Today
Oh,
we
Malcolm
lost
Jamal Warner.
Malcolm Jamal Warner. He was
Yes,
54 years old. He was
drowned.
on. He was star. He was one of the stars on what's that? The
Cosby
Cosby
The
Show.
Show.
Cosby Show. Yeah.
It
Oh,
debuted in 1984. One of
Mm.
my earliest memory of late night TV. because my parents watched the Cosby Show, was Malcolm Jamal. Well, not just Malcolm, but just the Cosby Show in general, because they depicted, a black family from Brooklyn, New York. Bill Cosby was a doctor. The wife was a lawyer, and they depicted and they show in TV at the time. I mean, we had some, in the 70s and stuff, Sanford and Son, Good Time, but not a show that depicted, black
Good time.
people in the sense of, you know, what you would see white people in that setting and coming in that stuff and everything. And one of the things too that I like to say that it was funny that I remember Malcolm Jamal Warner did. He told his dad uh that he wanted to not go to college. He just wanted to get a real normal job and want to be like everybody else. So, his father said, all right, he's like, how much money you got on you and stuff. So he took and saying this. He was like, you know, that job, everything, it requires, this, it requires, you to pay this and stuff. So he started taking a little bit away, and then he told him, he was like, how do you like having, you got to pay rent and everything. He said, well, yeah, he said he took that away too. And, he had the money and stuff. And then he took another thing away. Yes. And by the time he was almost, he was done, he said, how much money you got left? He said about $54. He said, you like to have a girlfriend too? He said, of course. He said, well, that's all gone too. That's one of the things I remember that, Malcolm Jamal Warner, when he was on the Huxtable, on the Cosby Show, because he started out at 14. He got the gig at he was 14.
He
Him
was
and
a little bit of a heartthrob
was-
too. I'm 52. I'm about his age, and I remember
Yeah.
watching the Cosby Show, and when he was 16, 17, 18, and I was 14, 15, 16, and I was watching this, I thought, oh, he's a hot looking
He
guy.
was he was on
was
he was on magazines back and stuff and everything.
sexy.
It's just heartbroken. It was heartbroken. He died of a tragic accident on vacation with his family.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
was it
that's
drowning? I think I heard.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
drowning
And
in
speaking
Costa
of that,
Rica.
Costa Rica. Yeah.
right off the coast of Costa Rica. And this is in poor taste, but it's also Michael Malice. So he quote tweets Malcolm Warner from August 14th, 2013. Oh, how I miss waking up to this view, stepping right out and walking 20 paces into the water. He should have stopped at 19.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
Poor taste,
little
but
too
it's
well. Not poor taste, just a little too soon. It's
little
like,
too soon.
maybe
That I really do.
I mean, I can't even tell Challenger jokes because I get the whole, oh, it's too
No,
soon.
yeah.
That was 1980, what, 7? Give me a
Yeah.
break. Anyway,
86.
86.
Michael Malice,
I'll tell you,
everyone.
one of the most successful black families on TV that I remember seeing was the Jeffersons. That was a spinoff of All in the Family, when George Jefferson moved next to Archie Bunker and they became neighbors, and he was a regular on All in the Family. And then it was so successful that it spun off into its own show called The Jeffersons. And talk about a theme song that gets stuck in your head. Moving on up, man, that theme song never goes away once it's in your head. And it depicted, he had a dry cleaning business. He was very successful. He lived in a penthouse apartment in New York. I mean, that to me, you look at that, and that was in the 70s, right? To me,
Yep.
that was, kind of a hero. And I love that he took the whole racist thing and flipped it around. Like everybody was called a honky.
Oh,
Like,
that's where I learned that from. I learned that from. I cannot stop talking, but I just wanted to get that out there about Malcolm, because we like the entertainment stuff and everything else, and it was just sad to hear that somebody
yeah.
somebody that was well respected even in Hollywood circles and stuff and everything, because he went on to have a successful career. He still went on to do acting and stuff and everything else. It's just unfortunate that something like this happened and stuff and everything. So I just want to throw that out there to everybody before we start our discussion on Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Travis, because I forgot to kind of toss out there that there has been a Star Trek passing just recently. It was a one-off star from the original series of Tom Trope, who played Lieutenant Harold, ironically, in the episode Arena, the Gorn episode.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're talking about this Gorn episode. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's just like so much jam in that hour. It's hard to keep track of everything. I mean, there's
I have got a really great little tidbit that ties into this show about one of our good friends. So, episode 1, season 3, Strange New Worlds. There is several flashbacks of Luan and her brother, who was never named before, but was named in this episode. His name was Manu.
Yeah.
So
I caught that, and I double checked IMDb to make sure I heard her. I was like, holy fuck.
yes, her brother's name was
Yeah.
Manu. So it's interesting that both Icheb has died and the character Manu has died in Star Trek, but the memory
Yeah.
of Manu
Respect.
lives on. So
Like that respect. All right, all right. Let's begin, guys.
That's one of the things I kind of noted there. So, like I say, going the round robin format, saying since Tyson, your time is a little more finite than the rest of us. What's some of your thoughts from the start of the episode?
well, I love that they released 2 episodes to start. So we actually got to see 2 episodes. And I won't get so much into episode 2 right now. Try to focus on episode 1. Um, I loved the conclusion. I mean, they left season 2, and they always fucking do this, right? They give you this cliffhanger, with everything at the end of season 2, and you're like, "Ugh." And then they don't release season 3, episode 1 for like 2 freaking years, not even one. So you're sitting there going, now what? Um, and it was satisfying. It was a little like I think there might have been a little too much. I mean, the odds that were against them were a little higher than would have warranted a success rate, and the fact that they pulled success out of it was like could have made it. I almost felt like it was Lower Decks where you see the episode of Mariner doing her calisthenics by escaping on a Miranda class ship from all those things she did in order to escape. I felt like it was kind of like that. It was a little kind of ridiculous, all the things, and they managed to win. And they could have made it a little more realistic. But that said, a lot of great scenes like pulling the phasers out of the Gorn shit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it was.
It was two.
It was Gorn shit. And she basically said that.
Gorn
Whatever we
excrement.
can't absorb, goes into the goo pile. So they were pulling that out and, splashing it on their face. That was interesting. And then, what they had to go through to steal a Gorn ship and get out of there. I love that. What is the female captain, the love interest? What's her name?
Patel.
Battelle, that she survived because we didn't know, and of course she survived due to um, what Illusion, what's the name of
Lorian blood
blood
plasma.
plasma? You know, and the great tie-in was that she was on the prosecution to get Una kicked out of Starfleet because of her genetic modifications, and now she has those same modifications because they needed to save her life. So that felt satisfying to me. I think she's going to have a little greater respect for Una now. Um,
Hopefully.
hopefully, we'll see. We'll see. I can't wait for episode 3. We'll talk about episode 2, I guess, next week.
No, we're talking about it tonight too.
Oh,
We're
we
talking
are?
about
Okay.
yes.
Oh, well, in that
Yep.
case, Trelane. I don't know what else to call him, right? It
Yeah,
has to
well,
be
that's
Trelane.
what
Or
IMDb calls them.
so it's either Trelane or another entity of the same species. But I mean, the hair, everything was perfect. The only difference was that in the original series, Trelane had dark hair, and this Trelane had dyed blonde hair. Other than that, I mean,
Rebellious
the
youth.
the whoever they got to act. I mean, as soon as I saw him and as soon as I saw what he was doing, I mean, we weren't even 10 minutes into the episode. I'm like, that's Trelane. It has to be. And then, oh my God, John Delancey. I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to save that for Dave. I mean, that was effing fantastic.
Yeah, see, I just tease it, just a hell of a guest appearance there.
Wow. Because we've always compared whatever Trelane's uh, um,
Powers.
species was to the Q, like, how, you know, and it's funny that the Q, the actor who plays the Q, John Delancey, is actually the voice of the parent. So, I mean, it was just chef's kiss. Loved it.
Yeah, same. But saying for those that like to read the novels, it's been at least 30 years since Peter David came out with the novel Q Squared, where Trelane was introduced as a member of the Q Continuum, but since that's beta canon, that was never really fully like
But John
cemented on the
Delancey was
TV.
the parent.
That just fully
And he's
canonized
also
that Trelane
credited
is
as Q.
Q.
Huh?
But it kind of screws up the fact that it's saying that Trelane is his child, so it just kind of puts a whole new layer of rewriting some canon there. But I'm sorry, Katie, you were saying something?
On IMDb, he is credited as Q.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that you see, right, this is what I don't get. Q Junior in Voyager was supposed to be the first Q ever born in the Continuum. So,
Right.
my
That's the
my
canon
question
stuff I was just
is,
talking about.
yeah. So my guess is basically, when like in Q2 in Voyager, when Q supposedly goes off to parent his child after Janeway says spend some time with him. Yes, I still have that song stuck in my head. Thank you.
Yeah. I when they started playing that, I just rolled my eyes and I was just like, oh my god, really?
Wake me up before you
Before
But
go.
you go.
Q said something about spending like centuries or thousands of years together or something. And I'm just wondering if that included time hopping, given, or like they time hopped after the incidents on Voyager, because that is the only explanation as to why John Delancey has been credited as Q. And that's to tie in with Voyager.
I think time doesn't have meaning for the Q. So, maybe in our perception of time, Q Jr., was the first. And remember, only a couple of years had gone by from infant Q to fully, 20-year-old Q. And so, you know, maybe there's some, time issue here. Oh, also, it seems out of character for John Delancey to be concerned about humanity and you shouldn't do that. Put everybody right, fix everybody, and let's go home. That doesn't seem very cute.
You
I
see,
mean,
this is
Q,
why I'm thinking that that all of this, if basically they're trying to create some form of link to Q having a son in Voyager, and this is the result, like they're basically from our perception time hopping and this, that, and the other. Like if it happens after the events of Voyager, it would make sense because Q did grow up a hell of a lot. And even though, like, or even after the events of Picard, he he did mature a lot. He did grow up, even though he still had that like psycho mischief thing going on. He did. He'd always been obsessed with humanity, and he did see them as his little playthings, his little toys, but especially after the events on Voyager and then what happened in Picard season 2, it just seems like they've tried to tie everything in, and they're trying to, how can I put this in a nice way so Travis won't hate me more than he already does? They're basically it seems to me that they're basically trying to correct the mistakes of TOS by kind of like rewriting it a bit better and also tying it into what is like solid canon, because as I've said before, TOS, I mean, don't get me wrong, to some degree, various bits of Trek are. However, TOS in general is very contradictory. And I mean, yeah, it was a new concept, and it must have been very difficult, but a lot of I've spoken to a lot of people about this who absolutely adore TOS, and they still think I'm a traitor to Trek for not liking it. But they have agreed with me that there are more contradictions in TOS than in the rest of Trek altogether, including Discovery, because like something had happened, and then that thing that happened in like season 1 had been mentioned in season 2, but it had been spoken about very differently, and it's like, hold on a minute, no, that's not how it happened. It happened this way, and you're talking about it as though it happened that way, and that's what I mean by a lot of contradictions. And I think this is one of the reasons why they wanted to do Strange New Worlds as well, to try and correct some of the contradictions of the past and like recanonize things.
I'm going to challenge that. I this Trelane was very much like the TOS Trelane, and the entity that was the parent in the TOS and the entity that was the parent this time, very different from the Q that we know. This, I think, is a separate, whether it's an offshoot, whether they're like Vulcans and Romulans are related. I don't know if Q and the Trelane's people are related, but I don't think they're the same. There's a different moral character about the parent and about how young this one is. Also, this
Trellane's like
character was
8,000 years old.
right, and remember, this is an earlier Trelane. This is an earlier Trelane than the one we see with Kirk, right? Because this happens earlier in the timeline, and the Trelane from Kirk's timeline had everything old because light years, right? It took so many light years for him to see. So from his vantage point, it was still the 1700s. Yet this Trelane, 10 years earlier, is very modern, is on a starship and understands, modern time. So I'm thinking it's not Trelane, that entity. I'm thinking, it could be somebody within. Let me finish. So it's different. Also, he was very prissy, the way Trelane and TOS was very prissy, right? We don't see Q Junior any kind of, and when I say prissy, let's just be real, gay as fuck, right? That's what, and I'm saying that as a gay man, I'm allowed to say it. But this guy was gay as fuck. Trelane was gay as fuck. These are gay as fuck, where I did not get that from Delancey or Delancey's son, or, very eccentric, very, very, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not even eccentric.
Cam,
Yeah, just, yeah, not Q at all. Like, not Q-ish in the least. They do not strike me as Q, but they strike me as all powerful like the Q. And there are several Q-like. I don't want to say omnipotent too much because I don't want to dilute the word, but a type of omnipotence. Though we did learn in the original series that his omnipotence was aided by uh, mechanical means, where Q's is not. So that's another thing where there has to be some kind of mechanics involved for this entity to have that omnipotent power, where Q doesn't require that. Um, so there's just too much separation from the Trelane people and the Q. enough that they could be related or descendants, but I don't think they're the same. I
Kind
have
of
to
like
disagree.
Romulans and Vulcans.
Yeah, kind of like the Romulan. Like they could have a distant ancestry, but I think they're different. I don't think they're the same. I don't think they're both Q. Time will tell. Yeah.
What's up, Katie?
Well, I am going on the facts, what I know. Fact one, John Delancey is credited as Q, as the voice of Q in all the credits. Therefore, is it Trelane?
It wasn't named as Trelane in the episode from what
Right.
I've seen. It's only on paper he's referred to as Trelane.
But he is credited as Trelane. And the fact that he calls Q dad. Now this is what I was getting at about recanonizing things, and it I did actually. I noticed something. I was so proud. I was going to bring that up later. But thank you, Rose. But a lot of what I've heard, what I've read, is that basically Strange New Worlds is a way of recanonizing TOS and correcting a lot of mistakes that were made in the original and like bringing it a bit more up to date, which I completely agree with, in all honesty. However, if these entities from Strange New Worlds are not Q, then they have been credited wrong. But the fact that John Delancey is credited as Q, the wedding planner, who is credited as Trelane, calls him dad. That to me says that they are trying to recanonize Trelane as Q's son. And obviously, Tyson has already said that time is not linear for the Q. And so that kind of makes a lot of sense to me. I'm trying to see it from outside of the box and even further out. And a lot of people don't want to see it as, which I completely understand. They don't want to see it as basically rewriting TOS, but that is basically what Strange New Worlds is doing, is trying to rewrite TOS and recanonize things and correct things. And I've seen it. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I have seen it. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example, the movie was the start of something, but then, and in that the vampires could fly. However, when it came to the TV series, it was all rewritten, and that is now canon. And the original movie is now basically seen as sort of kind of beta canon, and that seems to be what's happening with Strange New Worlds in regards to TOS. And it has been done a lot, and it has worked. And so far, it is working for TOS. And I am very much for Strange New Worlds in regards to TOS, sorry. And I am very much liking that. I mean, they already connected the episode The Cage, which, that was just moments of my life I'll never get back. But they connected that into Strange New Worlds. Well, actually, no, they connected it into Discovery, which was kind of like the prequel to Strange New Worlds, season 2 of Discovery. So it does seem to be working so far, and I don't think people should jump on the defensive about, this is not what happened in TOS until all of Strange New Worlds has been and done. Because, like I say, from what I've read, from what I've heard, they're basically trying to do with Strange New Worlds in regards to TOS what the TV series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer did in regards to the movie. So I'm very interested to see where this goes.
I still, and I understand where you're coming from, and I understand how they've been credited online and on paper, but I think the writers intended something different because he was not Q in the sense that I regard Q, and Q has never shown up as just a little puff of cloud, scolded somebody and went away. He's always showed up either as a three-headed serpent or as a human being or as, so that was kind of, I don't know. I just see the Trelanian, I'm going to call them that because I like to make shit up. Trelanian race and the Q race are just, they have different, completely different styles, completely different. And they kept this so true to the original series. Like they kept that Trelane character so true to the actual. And if you go back and watch the actual, it was just beautifully done. Whatever actor they got must have watched that episode of TOS over and over and over to get all the mannerisms perfectly. Like I'm telling you, we were 5-10 minutes into the show, and I'm like, that's Trelane. Like you could not mistake him. It was so perfect. Um, and I would have recognized Q, any type of Q behavior equally as quickly. And when I saw all the things he was doing, I didn't think Q. I thought Trelane. That's how good they did. And I don't know. We're gonna see how that goes. Travis has been awfully quiet. I want to give him a chance to speak. Travis, what help set you are the tiebreaker, and not to put you in a difficult position.
I know Travis hates me right now. But just before Travis speaks, I just want to say one thing. If you have never seen TOS and you don't know anything about Trelane, straight away his behavior in Strange New Worlds season 3, episode 2, you automatically think Q.
And while you're thinking about this, Travis,
about that as well.
While you're thinking about this, Travis, also keep in mind that Zach has been making overtures. So if you don't marry me soon, I'm gonna have to marry him. So be thinking about that when you give your answer. Better be a good answer.
I'm out.
I'm playing. I scared Zach away. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Travis. Go ahead.
Don't be
I'm
scared.
Zach, I'm
Don't be
sorry.
scared of us.
Cheating on me, Tyson.
Oh yeah.
Y'all make some really good arguments and good points and stuff and everything. Tyson, when it goes, you nailed it when you said about the Trelane character and everything. It is kind of, and this has been my trope with Discovery and Strange New World. We got, and I'm not going off topic here, but this is what I feel like and everything else. People may, everybody may hate me for this or anything, stuff like that, but this is one of my things versus the Star Trek that I grew up with. This Star Trek that came out in 2009 that we seen with the new with this cast that they had this, with Christopher Pine and all these other ones, they were not centered to the Rick Berman and Gene Roddenberry's universe. To me, they call it the Kelvin timeline. Just like we see these ships, Discovery, that look so advanced, they didn't look like it should be in the 21st century or the 22nd century. This Enterprise does not look like it should be in the 22nd century that I'm familiar, or the 23rd century that I'm familiar with. You know, the Enterprise that I grew up with from the Kirk, the TOS and stuff like that was different and stuff, the characters and stuff and everything. I say, to me, all of this is part of the Kelvin timeline or the Kelvin universe and stuff and everything else. And I know people are gonna say, oh, it's part of the, Rick Burn, or the TNG, the DS9, the Voyager, and all the, they are separate in the unit. To me, I feel like they're separate into a different universe. Similar but separate, just like the mirror universe, a different universe with different characters that are playing characters that we know of and everything else. I look at it like this: we see characters that they bring into the show, like this Trelane character and stuff and everything. And Katie made some really good points about, like, it could be the Q and stuff and everything. And you, Tyson, you were right. It could be another super powerful beings, that's not Q and everything else. And I look at this, I'm like, and I know she said that they trying to do a job at rewriting canon of the TOS, because TOS, has so many contradictory things and stuff and everything. And it's like, for people who are, I can't say, I don't want to say we're stubborn and stuff, but we hold on to the Gene Roddenberry, Rick Berman universe from 66 all the way through to the end of Star Trek Nemesis and stuff. And we look at it like this. I mean, I look at it like this, I should say. That was one stage of Star Trek and everything else. They bought in this whole because they wanted to bring a new generation into Star Trek. And it's so hard for me to even wrap my head around, because I look at it like this is a whole totally different universe in itself, other than trying to put it, we trying to make sense of rapping and saying this character Trelane was a child of Q, when in the Rick Berman or Gene Roddenberry Rick Berman universe, we saw that Q and the female Q had a son. And to go back and start rewriting stuff like that, that's just throwing people like myself head into a wrench. It's like you trying to rewrite past that's trying to give some sort of continuity, which continuity is just thrown out all over the place and stuff, and Discovery and Strange New Worlds. Because I never seen the Enterprise of that time period more advanced, given to you that they had a different budget back in 1960s. Still, I would like to see my old-fashioned Enterprise, but this Enterprise looks so fancy, such a almost like a Apple iStore, and stuff. It's so shiny, so fancy and stuff. They don't have the big buttons, the big switches and stuff and everything else. They have like so much things. Well, I myself think, and I know I'm going on a tangent and everything else, but like I'm with you, Tyson, when it comes to this being in this particular episode and stuff. He mastered Trelane, every from and stuff and everything. What I'm frustrated about is the continuation of everything that that had came from TOS is being like, and I know Katie said it's done to correct a lot of mistakes that they made and stuff. I'm like, let the mistakes be, and we just go about that and everything else. The mistakes are, if they have mistakes, then the mistakes are there. You can't rewrite the past to fit people's future and stuff. But that's what these new writers in Hollywood and and doing it Paramount and everything else is trying to appeal to a younger audience and stuff and everything else. And I feel like, to me, Discovery and Strange New World is separate. It is separate from the Rick Berman and Gene Roddenberry's universe in a sense. I'm sorry, I know I'm going off at Tyson. You're going to have to be going soon and everything else, but it just bothers me because they can't stay in continuity track in Star Trek lore. Star Trek lore is being so rewritten, it's making my head jumble. You muted.
Tyson, you're muted, my sweet.
Oh my God. I have to, I love talking to myself because, I also
That's
love
it's
playing
a
with
good
myself, but
microphone. We can't pick
that's
up a
another.
word when you have it pointed up.
Anyway,
So
so I do everything to myself. No, I have to leave in a minute here. But my parting words, Travis, I agree. I think they've done so many rewrites because, in Enterprise, the Klingons shouldn't have ridges, but yet in Strange New Worlds they do, and there's a lot of back and forth where continuity, and they remade the way the Klingons look, which was just really weird. And then the movies did the same thing, and there's always these continuity issues, and they always try to fix them, and they never quite pan out right. And then, of course, this is notwithstanding the advancement in modern technology. Obviously they're not going to make the Enterprise, with the little uh what was the ice cube mold buttons with the different colors, the jelly buttons, and they just technology has gone so much. Those here's my iPad right here. The year is 2025, and this is what my iPad looks like, right? There's obviously, you're not going to have this giant police officer, metal clipboard thing that you're writing on, like you see in Kirk, because, and they talk about tapes, these big giant wooden square
yeah,
tapes that look like a 3 1/4 floppy disk
Mm-hmm.
or 3 1/2 floppy disk. I mean, we've just in today's technology, we've moved so far beyond that to say in the future that they've gone back in time on technology, just there'd be continuity errors there. So you're caught between a continuity error with the original and a continuity error of what modern technology has already solved for. So obviously in the future they wouldn't have downgraded. Like in the year
Yeah.
2023, or I'm sorry, in the 23rd
23rd century.
23rd century, 2020, 22, whatever, they're not going to have flip phones when we already have iPhones in 2025, right? You're not going to downgrade. So how do we bridge that gap? And so there's going to be that technological continuity issue, which I'm good with. I get, when we watch Star Trek Enterprise, they made it look older, but they also incorporated modern technology, with the flat screens and everything. I think they did a good job with Enterprise, which was a very
Yes,
hard
they really
thing to
did a
do.
good job at Enterprise.
They did.
Enterprise was
Now, if
really
they would have kept
Mm-hmm.
that balance between what today's technology is and what the future could look like, but still making it look less capable than the Enterprise we know. I mean, that was a beautiful balancing act. I don't think they've done quite as good a job in future Treks that they've done since then. Anyway, I have to go.
nope,
Thank you
nope.
for letting me.
Don't
Oh, before, yeah.
don't run off just yet. I just had to share a quick little announcement that
Oh, yes.
I have a new Star Trek crush.
Oh, hello.
Vincent Gamble.
Yes. Oh my God.
He is a sweetie pie.
I don't
Yeah,
know if you saw.
I just like, oh, he's so cute. I like him. I was like, oh my
You
god,
know the
I got a crush on a Star Trek
the
actor.
camera panned down a little bit, and I have a crush too because he was walking with a limp. That's always a good sign
Yeah,
when you
saying
stagger on
if
one
McGregor
side. It
wants to
means
keep him around, just like, okay, we'll see what happens.
you're not.
It's a,
It means there's no symmetry. You're off put because something is a little too big and has to go down one side. Love that. All right, bye guys.
Mm.
Good night.
I said,
Love ya.
oh, jeez, yeah, that guy.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Tyson.
Sorry about going earlier. Something was going on with the front door to the building, so I had to go and figure out what the fuck's going on with that.
No
Right.
break me.
While Tyson
Security.
was talking, I've written 2 comments here. It's not just to appeal to young viewers. The rewrites of Disco and Strange New Worlds are in keeping with the events of the Berman era series. And then I go on to say, things what was said and done in TNG, DS9, Voyager, etc., then Disco, didn't always mesh with TOS. This is why things could be happening the way they are in Strange New Worlds. And this is what I was saying. A lot of people have mentioned about, you know, things that were said in Next Gen, things that were said in DS9, things that were said in Voyager, even though certain things are alluded to, like the Trouble with Tribbles crossover, and things like that, you know, that brings it forward. Things are, you know, connected back to TOS, but then there's a lot of other things that are said and done in the Berman era series that do contradict what happened in TOS. However, right from TNG all the way through, those contradictions stand. And all of that carries on through the Berman era, and all of those things completely contradict the contradictions in TOS. And I think what they're doing is basically, do you know how I said that in one thing that bothered me about TOS is that something had happened and then it was spoken about later, but differently.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
again.
Yeah, that's basically what happened in the Berman era series. Things were spoken about that went on in TOS, but only in one of the ways TOS spoke about it, maybe the original way it was put, rather than the later contradiction. And I think this is what they are trying to correct. You know, something happened, right? That happened, so that's going to be carried on into the Berman era, and this is what Strange New Worlds is going to be.
Question though, do you think that maybe with Strange New Worlds and these corrections that they might be setting up for this generation to be a remake of TOS?
That's what
Well,
everyone's believing kind of doing.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they were hoping for, but with only with Strange New Worlds ending at season 5, because this was supposed to go on for a lot longer, and the plan was to basically rewrite TOS in a way that had no contradictions, like rewrite TOS and have the events happen, but make sure that everything is consistent to everything else that is full canon. And it was basically, how can I put this? Again, from what I've heard, from what I've read, it was basically like going from the Berman era, then going back to Enterprise, and then Disco, and now Strange New World. They were basically hoping, and yes, it was a hope, to rewrite TOS to make things consistent and to basically have that as the like original rough draft. And like, you know, because one thing that has always been stated in the credits is that it is based on Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry, not it's a continuation or anything like that, based on Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry. And I think they did that deliberately because they, you know, Star Trek, The Next Generation, You know, they didn't necessarily have to put based on Star Trek, but they did. Same as DS9, Voyager, all the others, based on Star Trek. Now, I believe that they did that because they knew that they were going to do a lot of rewriting on the establishment of Star Trek.
Yeah, future.
You know, Zach, really to your question, like I'm like myself and I call ourselves Star Trek traditionalists. They're losing us. They're losing us. They're losing us as fans. They're losing, you know, all these new things. They're losing. They losing people like me as fans and stuff and everything else. Like I'm not really been so much impressed in the last 20 years with Star Trek. Ever since Nemesis, Picard, you know, bought it in. You know, Lower Decks. It's an animated thing and stuff, but they have lost. They're losing us traditionalists in in this way and stuff and everything else. And you know, these episodes that came out just reinforced more of, you know, people like myself are just getting turned off. I'm not so much. I'm not trying to say that, you know, oh, you know, this Star Trek, you know, type of stuff is for, to me, younger people and stuff, but people who are traditionalists, who are in their 40s, who are in their late 30s and 40s and stuff, and they came up with a different era and different generation stuff. But I mean, for your question that you asked, you know, Katie and stuff, you know, I find myself as a Star Trek traditionalist, and I'm gonna stay a traditionalist, and it's just it's not working for me, and they're losing me and stuff and everything else with, you know, with so much, you know, that they want to throw at the walls and see what sticks and stuff and everything else. And it's just unfortunate. It's gonna continue like that. I'm always gonna be you know, an OG Star Trek fan, but you know, I think my cutoff point, you know, was at Nemesis and stuff and everything else. You know, I just can't see myself liking
one question.
The new show.
They're changing too much.
I want to put this to all of you. I want to put this to all of you. I want to put this to all our viewers who grew up with TOS. Believe it or not, I grew up with TOS. However, I want to put a question to you. If you had never seen TOS, would you like Strange New Worlds?
Yes.
If you could take away your memories of TOS, if you could just pop them in a box with the lid on and watch Strange New Worlds without having all of that backstory, would you like Strange New Worlds? And I put this to the three of you, and I also put this to our viewers.
That's a fair question. Honestly,
I'd say yes. Sorry.
I mean, I'd have to say yes, because there wouldn't be the backdrop of TOS to remember. So I would probably enjoy it a little bit more, because it'd be something new, and just something new, pretty much. It is something new, and I'm not saying that I don't like it, but it is a little bit more of a drag for me, because I gotta relearn. That's basically what it is. I gotta, because they're coming at me fast. I'm like a wasp, or no, I'm like a moth caught in a light. That's not good, and it zapped me.
And I understand that, and but this is why I'm putting the question to everyone, because as I've like made the slight comparison to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original movie with Kirsty Swanson, you know, and Donald Sutherland, there are so many people who still absolutely adore that, and that is what they knew. That's all I knew, and I only discovered the series completely by accident. However, because there was a lot of missteps in that movie, it was rewritten. A lot was still kept. The backstory of, Buffy was in LA. That's that's where she was when she got called up, and she had to burn down her school gymnasium because it was full of vampires. Now that ties in with what happens in the movie. However, in the series, the vampires don't fly. They have the dodgy foreheads, but they can look human. And they rewrote the original to make it more succinct, to make it flow better. And at first, I struggled because it's like, whoa, this is like so different. What's with all the bumpy foreheads? Are they trying to do like vampire Klingons? That's what I thought. And the fact that they could look human if they wanted to, they didn't fly. And somebody even makes a comment in I think it's either the first or the second episode, because it's a double episode of the series. When Buffy says something and then somebody else says, "Oh, what, they can fly?" And she's like, "No, they can drive." That is a complete rewrite on the movie. And yet the movie has now basically been turned into a kind of sort of rough draft / beta canon. And the series works so much better. And I love the series. I can't stand the movie. But I mean, don't get me wrong, the movie will always hold a place in my heart because, again, as with TOS, it was the birth of a legend.
The movie can go. The movie can die.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel about TOS, but I still have a deep respect for it because it was the birth of a legend.
True. I'll give you that one. That's why Buffy the Vampire Slayer the movie will always hold a place in my heart, because it was the birth of a legend, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer series did become a legend, just like all of the other series after TOS of Star Trek. And you can't say that about SG-1, though. You cannot say that about SG-1. The movie was badass, and the series was awesome.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. See, I like that. The Star Trek movie was phenomenal with Kurt Russell and others and stuff. Then they took and they just, they brought in new characters and they played on the same premise in the same movie and stuff and everything else, which was done really nice and stuff. But I don't know. I'm a traditionalist at heart, and the question, the questions that you ask and stuff like that. For me, I do not know, Katie. I do not know how to answer that question. Honestly, I can't say I will enjoy Discovery of Strange New World or any of these J.J. Abrams, Star Trek, because it to me it's so comedic and stuff and everything else. It doesn't have the feel of the Star Trek that I came up with, from
that is true, especially with
DS9.
Yeah,
because this particular episode, that we had wedding planner. They call him the wedding planner and everything else. I just look at it. I'm like, okay, I know they needed to take a break from a real dramatic, because we seen the whole Jiminy Gorn and stuff and everything else. They wanted something lighter and everything else. I was thinking, oh man, it kind of seems a little comedic in a sense. I mean, I'm not saying that we ever seen Star Trek have comedic stuff and everything else, but it just I don't know. It's just how they write for these characters to be, to deliver their lines and these actors and stuff like that. It just kind of makes me feel like, y'all trying too hard to make these characters comedy like when they're on their downtime and stuff. And then the Spock, this version of Mr. Spock.
Hit or miss on some. Yeah, sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it's like,
Yeah, it
I
just
don't
blows my
remember Spock.
it blows my mind and stuff. It's like, is this how we picture Mr. Spock? You know, is this how we, it, is this he punches
It's
a random person, when he's
mhm,
talking to him, then
That
wake
was
up,
like whole, and then his
and
mhm.
like
then wake
oh fuck moment afterwards. He's like,
yeah, and then he wake up in bed
And
with him, and then he logically explains why he punched him and stuff and everything else. It's like,
mhm. They're
uh,
playing too
you
much on
know,
the logic, but they're trying to play too much into how he's trying to contain his Vulcan identity. But then they're going at it, in my opinion, a little too wrong because they're being a little too abrasive with it.
and it's like they want to force
Mhm.
him and Christine to
Yeah,
get, just like force them
that
together. Let's
too.
force
there was a
They're
thing between Chapel and Spock during the original series, but
I remember that.
it was that there was an emotional
I do.
distance there. So this series kind of builds on why that dynamic exists from the original series. That's my 2 cents on that. But
Well, yeah,
That
because
Rosa,
would
this is
make
like a
sense.
prequel to what happened in
Yeah,
TOS.
but
yeah. I mean, that would make sense. It is a prequel.
what's that?
That would make sense. It is a prequel, but
Yeah,
they
well,
are
that's
they
what.
are forcing it a little too much. So
Yeah,
Or
but
And
they need to stop with the prequels. They need to look at the future. We got Star Trek Legacy,
you,
the 25th
oh, I'm so
century.
tired of prequels. I'm so tired of prequels. After
See,
because
that
Enterprise,
was that was one of the reasons why I didn't really get into Enterprise, because they rewrote established canon right off the bat,
exactly.
introducing the Klingons a half century too early. So
I
mhm.
was with you right there too, Dave. I was with you right there too. I was like, oh God, are they really gonna do
That
this
was
and
odd.
stuff? I was
yeah,
grinning my
it's
teeth
mm,
and
but
stuff.
That was odd.
Rose did ask a couple of good questions earlier. I just sorry I haven't had a chance to address it. The first one was that thinking that Q's lost his mojo. So he did in season 2 of
Yes,
Picard.
He
yes,
did. Yeah.
yes, I saw that, Rose. Yeah, yep, he did, and he was supposed to be
Yeah,
dead.
what's that?
He was supposed to be dead. Q was
I'm sorry.
supposed to be dead.
Yeah, and then he's not. So just like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. That kind of leads into her other question about Trelane being from the past but brought to the future. I'd have to personally, I have to lean
Hmm,
toward no on that. Then he's
yeah.
present day because he's probably a little young. This Trelane is definitely younger than the Trelane from Squire of Gothos because number one, the hair,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
the outfit, the hairstyle, which I'm still playing with my hairstyle. But see, I kind of did a little flat take because I thought I was be wearing my headphones, but
Don't
I
you like
seem to
my
have lost the
hairstyle?
antenna for it. So I was like, "What? I have no idea what
Like
it
my
is."
beard too.
Yeah, I was gonna trim mine a little bit before the show, but it's like I
You
just
got
never
the Da
got
Vinci.
around
I
You
to
got
it.
the Da Vinci look. You got
I
that Da
need
Vinci
to
look.
I need to
The
trim
Darwin
my
look.
beard up too. The Lysander Spinner look.
Yeah, but see, I got my 10-year. Well, no, that's my little animated bearded look.
I don't have nothing like that. As any other channel.
my YouTube profile picture or any, I don't have one on. When I go off camera, it doesn't show up.
It's showing up fine on this end. That's weird.
Hmm.
What? So when
Yeah.
I do this, you can see my profile
Oh
picture.
no.
No.
See that's a setting that you have to do.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how to get that.
Make a little
Never
figure of
mind.
yourself or something.
Yeah.
Well, I like on my Google account, my Samsung account, all my social media, YouTube. I've got the same profile picture,
Hmm.
so it should come up on here when I go off camera, like everybody else's. But it doesn't. Never has done.
Hmm.
let's see, where was it?
It's weird.
Mm,
But no, do you know what? I fully accept and respect your stance on the way Trek's going.
Under
I
I got it for you, Katie.
I will
I'm
say one thing about Strange New Worlds, though, this inclination and corresponding it with the original pilot. That yeah, I
with
like
Cage.
the fact. Yeah, I like the fact
Yeah.
that we're kind of trying. We're trying to see where they're placing emphasis now on the Enterprise before Kirk, and it makes me remember that pilot was wonderful. By the way, I can't believe it
Mm.
failed.
It's one of
But
those times where different time period and stuff, and I
Different.
mean, like,
Yep.
I mean, modern technology, like Tyson was reiterating about modern
Hmm.
technology. It makes for something that was shown in the 1960s looks
Hmm.
so, I hate to put it like this, but it makes it look clunky and dispositional versus now
Yes.
where we have literally CGI. Back then they used
Hmm.
model and different little uh setups and stuff like that to in the Enterprise. I actually seen the original Enterprise in the Smithsonian back in
Mm,
2017. The
that's
model,
it.
it was pretty. Oh my god, it was nice and stuff.
Oh, I
Hand
bet.
drawn, the little things, stuff like that. They did those
Hmm.
things because they use models, they use practical sets and stuff. And now their sets is more CG, it's CGI. We live in a CGI world and stuff and everything else. And I do understand, we can't get back those, practical set days. They do have practical set, but not in a way that, you know, I'm used to seeing, and stuff when it comes to um, like just recently when we watched Picard season 3, they
Mm,
rebuilt the Enterprise D bridge. They did that and they did it really well and stuff and everything. It was a
they did.
practical big set and stuff and everything. It wasn't a CGI mock up or anything and stuff. But like all these new things, it's something to say that our technology has advanced in the last 60 years and stuff and everything else. But I do remember too in Enterprise, it was mirroring darkless.
Inner
I know
Darkly.
Dave know the mirror
Mhm.
darkly, yeah.
Neo.
The Defiant, and they rebuilt, I think they rebuilt the bridge, not the not the Enterprise bridge, but the old. They rebuilt, in a sense, the old style bridge of, from the TOS day, and I was just dumbfounded when I watched that episode. I was like, "Holy crap!" And it was a real mock up set that
Mhm.
you look and you saw. If you wasn't thinking at that time, I wasn't thinking. I was like, you know what? I'm looking at a TOS episode in sense from a
Yeah, that's totally
YouTube.
different than what they did with Relics in Next Generation, where
Really,
a lot of
Mm,
that was like CGI, blue screen and stuff. They didn't do a full mock-up of the bridge. They did sections of it,
yeah.
but they didn't do the whole thing, which I think was an honest travesty in their part on that one. But again,
Hmm.
TV budget, you got to pinch where you can
that's true.
back
Hmm.
then.
That is true. That they have like Strange New World have a bigger budget in a sense compared
Oh,
to the budget that they that they
oh,
back then had and stuff like that. Their budget
Yep.
is like 3 or 4 times what they would even have back then and stuff and everything. And
yeah.
I
Well,
respect that too because they putting a lot into these programs, these programs and stuff like that that they to show off and everything else. It means that they're going out with you know what was that in the in that first episode of the Gorn of the hegemony when they was on set. They was not in studio, but they was out in why I had to call it the field. They was out in like in practical setting. They was out like in like they said it was a small town or something like that. They was somewhere
Yeah,
else.
they were
Not
on
really.
location.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
no,
yes, yes.
yeah. Say, Rose, yeah, they've established that this is out of the Strange New Worlds isn't the prime timeline. It's not a divergence from anything else. It just again goes with the budget. They got bigger budgets, better technology to make it look more
Yep.
modern than it actually is.
Yep.
But they have done their best to try and bring in some of the elements from the original, like talking about the buttons earlier, you can see some of the
Yep.
60s era design in the comm panels with on top of like the touch screen stuff too. So I mean, they got
Mhm.
some elements there, which is a nice little touch. They want to try and honor the continuity as best they can, but yet it's
They
that technology from 60 years ago won't fly because it's outdated compared to what we got now. So
exactly.
That's what I was
And
just going to bring up. And a lot of what we saw in TOS, that even us now, as we sit here discussing all of this nitpicky stuff,
thanks to Star
you
Trek,
know, it, how can
takes
I put
time.
this? Yeah, I mean, a lot of I mean, we outdate a lot of TOS
We do.
in
We really
a
do.
way, and this is one of the reasons why they are rewriting it, but they're still keeping like the
The women's uniforms.
yes,
They cut.
yeah.
They are. That is a good. That is a cool.
That is, yeah.
But no,
Montage.
they're like the when it's the beam me up Scotty moments,
Oh,
and
yep.
they have they have the actual slidey button things. That's a nice touch. Things like that
Yeah.
are still used now.
yeah, like
You
they
know, but
transported the three bulky things. That's pretty darn close to what they had on the original Enterprise.
yeah, so they still are having like elements there, but because of where our technology is now, if they were to stick to what was presented originally in TOS, it just wouldn't, like Dave said, it wouldn't fly because we outdate a lot of that now. And this is why they feel the need to do a rewrite. And in my opinion, it is needed because if somebody hasn't seen TOS and they were to just suddenly start watching Strange New Worlds and everything was these big turning knob things and the swishy slidey buttons and rather than touch screen, a lot of them, they're just going to be like, hold on a minute, this is supposed to be like the 22nd century, like way in the future, and they can fly into space, but they still don't have touchscreen. Whereas we have it now, and because of how our technology is advancing so quickly, because of TOS, a lot of it,
Yeah.
things like that have to be changed, unfortunately, because it just wouldn't fly.
I think it has more to do with DARPA.
But you're right.
But,
I mean, you're right, Katie, when it comes to that and everything else and stuff. And I'm sure I'm in a minority, but I mean, it's sad that as a traditionalist, I am one of few voices in the chorus that is suddenly being lost and stuff. And as a fan of Star Trek, my disposition of it is starting to really weigh and just become like, you know what? I can do without any new future thing stuff, and just be done and just continue to reminisce and rewatch, the good old days, the golden age of Star Trek. Because I'm just it's hard for me to not to so much keep watching it, but it is in a sense, yes, it is kind of to keep grasping the changes.
I kind of
and
Speaking of changes, is like the we live in a day where like everything's sex too, right? And yeah, Star Trek has had that, but they kept it, and it's changed with the times, right? So what passes for now didn't pass really like 20 or 30, definitely not 50 years ago for TOS, but they kept it in a line with a suggestive manner, which I think was great for storytelling. But now it's just out there abrupt. It's like, I mean, why do you need that? I mean, can't you tell the story without being so aggressive about going that far?
Now that I agree with. Now that
Hmm.
I do agree with you on that, Zach. And you know, as
Hmm.
much as I mean, I'm really one to talk because of the books I read, you know, but it and the book I've
Yeah.
written, but you know, it I I don't think a lot of it is necessary,
Hmm.
depending on genre and specific target audiences. I mean, like in the world of track, I don't think it's necessary. Yes, see somebody getting married, have a hug, have a little bit of a kiss, you know, maybe
Hmm.
walking down the promenade holding hands, or you know, just
Yeah.
little things
Yeah.
like that, or
Yeah.
even just
Yeah.
like watching a movie. Oh, just a minute.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been trying to say that everyone keeps talking.
sorry, darling. Um, nope, I don't have that on there. I'll look at it
Mm.
later. Um, but you know, it's like like I said, depending on genre, like watching a movie snuggled up under a blanket together, you know, that's absolutely fine. But when it comes to more than that, I don't think, especially in the world of Trek, I don't believe that it is necessary. So I do agree with you on that, Zach. And I do
Mhm.
believe that one of the downfalls
Hello.
of
Did you guys hear
the
that?
times that we're rolling with
I,
is that they're trying to sexualize
mhm.
far too much.
Hang on, Katie. What'd you say, Dave? You hear
No,
what?
I just had a big old clap of thunder outside. It made me jump.
No,
I didn't
we
hear
heard
it.
Katie thought. No, we just heard
Yeah.
Katie thought.
Wow,
My
so
apologies.
this is a good microphone then.
Mm.
So if I
Well,
just
go
was
ahead, Katie.
usually drop off because that's probably why you see the power got knocked out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, one thing too, I found not to be a Debbie Downer, but it was pretty. There are comedic moments in this not the first episode of of the series because that was
No,
horrible.
disagree on that first episode. Scotty was hustling to. Oh, we lost Katie. Oh, now Katie's back.
Yes, that
And
wasn't
saying,
funny what she did to him.
yeah, she put the fear. I put FOG, the fear of God, just like you got to get this done, get it done now. He's like, "Ah, ah." And then Pike calls down there and he's like, "You little minx," and I was like,
Well, he walked out too. He wasn't happy. He had a frown on his face that he walked out. Because he felt a little manipulated by her.
"See how close is that? Let's see if
You know.
She understands people and she can read people, and she did what was needed in order to get that protection for the ship. And she was completely right. Not necessarily in what she did, but she did what was right in order to snap him out of it. And in that moment of panic, he remembered exactly what to do. And I mean, you just look back at TOS. Scotty works best under pressure.
Hmm.
and he put
You
he
know,
said
and
That's a good point. That is a good point.
That is a great point.
that is continuity with TOS, my darlings. Um, and you know, sometimes Scott, even in TOS, Scotty could be like, "Ah, oh, well, you know, we might not be able to do that. We might not be able to do this." But when it comes to the crunch, and he is under pressure, and it's a life-threatening situation, he's like, "Right, do this, do this, do this, done." And he works best under pressure, and that's how he became one of the best engineers of all time in Trek, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, they call him what did Kirk call him? The
miracle
miracle
worker.
worker. Yep, the miracle worker. I remember that. You remember in Star Trek 4?
Or are you
how
thinking 5?
it's like he came up with a way to contain two wells. You know,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. That's one of the things too. The Mister, the miracle worker and stuff and everything. And plus, what they say, it was in Star Trek 3, Search for Spock too. That they say that. You know.
No.
But no, we even
Yeah.
saw it in was it Relics when
Mhm.
Scott made an appearance
Mhm.
in TNG. He basically jerry-rigged the transporter system in order to hold people in suspended animation in the transporter
Well, he said Frank was
in
years.
in an emergency. And yeah, it can be done, but in an emergency, he probably got it done in half of the time that it would have originally taken him. And it that just goes to show he does work best under pressure. And she read that in him very easily. And going by what he did with that thing that he replicated on the, and I can't remember what it's called, the like camouflage thing. He was under a lot of pressure and so stressed out when he originally did it on that planet. And
Cloaking device, essentially.
yeah, but because he wasn't under that kind of pressure, he was struggling to get into that same mindset in order to remember. So she pushed him along to get him back into that we're all going to die mindset so that he would remember. And it's kind of like a sensory thing, but also a stress memory. And I do understand the psychology behind what she did.
Yeah, but you mentioned we're all going to die. That kind of ties in towards the end of the first episode. I thought they were going to kill off Ortegas. When
I did too.
when that Gorn grabbed her chest and then she's bleeding out like crazy. I thought they were going to kill her off. I was like, you damn well better not do that.
I was crying right from when that Gorn had her. I was in tears. And I'm just like, don't you dare kill off one of my favourite characters again, Star Trek, or I will never watch you again. And
Somebody's gonna get killed off before the end of the
to
season.
look for another co-host.
you'd have had to. But because rather that, or I'd have just sat here and like suffered spoilers or whatever. But no, honestly, I was just like, oh, holy crap. Because they've got a habit of killing off my favourite characters. I mean, all right, he came back, but Data, Jadzia, and it's like, whoa, Icheb, they're always killing off the ones that I love, and it's just like, now you can piss off. So yeah, I was in tears, and I was also in tears at the end of episode 2 as well. Because I'd been very worried about Ortegas because of that. And yeah, she's suffering from PTSD.
Which I've made a note of that. I think that's great that the show's doing that. And I actually think I spoke of it to somebody. It's great to see that even in the 23rd century, there is people that deal with post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And nearly getting devoured by a humanoid lizard, that would definitely put me through a lot of stress.
What's this thing about the Gorn homeworld in between two binary? I said, what's this thing about the Gorn homeworld in between two pulsars?
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all that myself. So I'm just it's a clever way, but based on what they've done,
makes sense.
We're probably not going to see the Gorn again until Kirk does in Arena.
They're gonna reenact that scene.
No, I
Did
don't
we
think
want?
At
we
Fast
want
that's
Fast
not
Rock.
that's not for another like 7 years. So,
Yeah. Are
but
they gonna?
that being
Will we see
talking,
the zipper?
hmm?
I said, will we see the zipper?
but saying talking
What
about
about
the
the two?
Klingons, they redid the opening credits a little bit and have a Klingon battle cruiser in there that kind of rises up and takes off after the Enterprise. Because I know I read that the next episode is going to be Klingon centric. But
Talk about this real quick.
the first I saw before even reading that, just like, oh, the Klingons are going to be a big part of this season.
I like it, and I don't at the same
Wait,
time.
before you say anything like that, can you please call spoiler alert so I can take my earpiece out?
Well, it's just out of the opening credits, so it's not a spoiler. The
I didn't
Klingons
even
will be in-
see a Klingon battlecruiser in the opening credits. I saw some form of other ship in the distance, but I didn't know it was a Klingon battlecruiser.
Well, let me see if I can
Now-
pull up an image of that really quick.
Now the only thing is will they look like humans or?
No,
will they
I think
look
they're going to look
Klingons?
like the next gen Klingons.
Okay. Still doesn't make any sense considering the I forget what this disease is called, but they explained it in Enterprise.
It's all part of the eugenics. It's all part of the
eugenics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
the contradictions right there.
Why did you have to tell me there's going to be Klingons? Why?
In trials, it was a trials and tribulations in DS9. Because it was troubles with tribbles in the original, but the trials and tribulations. They when they went back in time to K7, and they was surrounded by Klingons, but Bashir, O'Brien, and Odo did not know that they was Klingons. Walter sat quietly until the waitress was like, the Klingons, stuff. They were like, Klingons, where, they looked around and she was like, I think you boys had enough to drink. And then they all looked at Worf and, they were just stunned. They were like, are these Klingons? He was like, they are Klingons, but we do not discuss it with outsiders. That's his statement. He said, we do not discuss that with outsiders. But then fast forward to the Enterprise. Then they explain. They got to the continuity part. Like they like, what? We got to explain this whole thing because fans have been wondering how did Kirk's now the TOS Klingons look like humans? But fast forward to the motion picture, they got ridges. And fans was always, wondering why, what happened, what's going on here, and it's one of the little funny things that they was able to tie up, put in a little bow and stuff and everything else, and it's all because I hate to say it, augment human beings. Augment human beings were the ones who basically create the look for the Klingon in Kirk's time.
Okay, I got to share something. I was trying to see if I can get a screen grab or something like that off of a YouTube video for the season 3 because there was a Klingon ship in there, but no, it's saying it shows a link for a Paramount link, a Trek Yards link, another Paramount link, this podcast.
What?
Like this podcast that we're doing right now is showing up when I did Strange New World season 3 credits, and it's like the second. What was it? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's like the fourth result. Looking that up, it's like, holy crap! The algorithm's working.
Yay! Cheers to us.
Algorithm has been conquered.
Now let's hope the party planner does not change us into a dog. Did anybody catch that?
Oh, but that dog was so cute.
I saw a video of them auditioning for the dog for that little bitty scene. It was cute.
Oh, I much prefer the dog to the human. Is
Good
that
night,
bad?
Rose.
Mwah. Love you lots, Rose. But no, I much preferred the dog. It was so, and it was a little tux.
Yeah,
Oh, it was so cute.
everyone under Trelane's spell though, just like, oh hi puppy, and just like went on it like there's nothing wrong. There's just that.
Yeah, and I love that.
But at the end when Trelane snapped everybody out of it and Pike had to give his big ol' uh Federation Day speech, he's just like, yeah, this, that, the other. The bar's open.
Yeah, I love that. That was probably my favorite part of the episode, apart from the dog. You know, that was like my favorite part of the episode. He was so awkward. He was trying so hard, and then he was just like, "Yeah, the bar is open," and I'm just like, "Yes, everybody needs to get drunk after that."
Do you guys remember in TNG episode True Q where Amanda Rogers didn't know she was a Q, and her
Yes.
her crush was Q and stuff and everything else. Q came, but basically he was basically the judge and her executioner and stuff and everything else. Need to say, but there was one scene where he helped her with one of Dr. Crusher's experiments, or some sort of project, that she was doing. But he basically convinced her to use her power, and he didn't. Dr. Crusher wanted to measure, the rate of growth of the samples and stuff. She basically was saying, you interfere with my work, Q. Amanda was supposed to, do this the way she was instructed to do, but you interfere and stuff. And she was going on barking at Q and everything else. In that frame of reference, Q turned her into a dog. If anybody remember that, Q turned her into a dog without flicking his head.
If I'm not mistaken.
And then Amanda was like, and then she did that with her head, and she kept talking and stuff. She didn't know. Dr. Crusher did not know she got changed into a dog. Just one of those things where I was like, is this a TNG type of thing where a Q like being turned a person into a dog, even though he was what they say he was the maid of honor.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I agree with Christine. I was missing the flower garland on the head. It really suited him.
It did. But it's interesting that he didn't seem to be affected by his little trickery. And in fact, I mean, he just kept on chewing away, and he's like, okay, you're something's not right with you, dude. And it turns out he was right, but that punch he took from Spock, we talked about it earlier, just like that was like, what the heck, dude? But it's
Well, it's
interesting
not the
that
first time we've
somebody else
seen
snapped him
Spock
out of
struggle
his
with his
trance.
emotions.
And then the next thing, it was so funny. He put him in a bed, and I was like, what? I was like, he left him there, stayed with him until he regains consciousness, and then had another rational conversation. Oh,
Yeah, but
that was
like,
funny.
see if it turns up or not. But just like, yeah, that little note earlier, Lon's brother's named Manu.
That's really nice. That is really nice. I mean, I know Manu don't get much credit today in the Star Trek circle and stuff and everything else, but like, I mean, he's still a part of, the Star Trek franchise. Oh yeah, he's still part of, you go back in season 6 and season 7 of Voyager, and I mean,
where was the oh, then
But no, I just want to. Sorry, go on, Dave.
No, there's just that one bit when they're searching for the Gorn shuttle bay. Essentially, they're just like, things are, you're good, everything's good. And then Sam just like, as long as we don't get caught, and then they're just like, why the hell would you say that, dude? And as soon as he said it, of course, bam, shit happens.
Well, yeah, it's Sod's Law. It's everything's all quiet, and then somebody says something, and it all goes tits up.
Oh,
We call
yeah,
it Sod's Law across here.
a little later in the episode, I just wrote, shit happens, Sam flies, Erica gets grabbed in at the heart.
Oh, and that broke my heart because I really did think that they were going to kill her off.
It just shows how strong a character Ortegas is, that she survived that. Physically, she survived that.
Be
And
surprised,
you know
Katie.
what? I cried even
Don't-
more when she said, "I'm Erica Ortega's, I fly the ship." And I actually thought they were going to be our last words. I thought that was our final speech
I
in the land of
honestly,
the living.
yeah, I was thinking the same
And
thing.
I cried even more, and I'm just like, no, Melissa, you never told me this.
See, there's still one more season, and still this season. Don't think there are. Yeah,
more
well, there's two
seasons.
more seasons. Don't still think that they won't kill off somebody just as a cliffhanger. Because we know that they will do that. Writers will do that. That they
Yes,
will kill off a major character. Close to the end of the series or something like that. Make their death fair and respectable. Not just a Tasha Yar.
Oh
Like,
no, we don't need any Tasha Yard killings.
No.
But no, saying, because in Relics, Scotty did state that the Enterprise was the first starship he served as chief engineer. So now that he's on the ship, he's in the opening credits, and saying, so there we got this season and 2 more seasons after that. I think at some point something's going to happen to Pelia. If any character is going to get killed off, she's on top of my list.
Or
Yeah.
Una, she could
No,
get killed off too.
I don't think
Yes.
so.
They'd be surprised how the writers not afraid, because basically the series is going to end soon, and
Not
they're
for
not
another 2
afraid
years.
they're not afraid. They're not afraid to take away
What about Sam?
someone.
Sam
already
doesn't
know.
die until an original series episode, so he's still going to survive.
Pike, we all know he's going to end up in that contraption.
Share, yeah,
And stuff.
we know his fate. Patel, who knows? I mean, the eggs are gone; they've been reabsorbed into her body, but who knows? Maybe she'll turn into a Gorn.
There could be a side effect or something along the line that you never, but something that they can have. They're not afraid to really make. I hate to say make fans hate them for killing off somebody that is really liked, but they do it in a way that I suspect the writers will do it. The writers will do it, and it's not something that we can be like, oh, I wish they wouldn't do it and everything. They want to make it like, we got to have a death. There's got to be a death in one of the seasons that really hits home with people.
I think it was you, Travis, that was talking about the episode from Lower Decks that was Grounded. That's when Boimler and Mariner and Rutherford, they hijacked the Cerritos from space dock.
Yep.
Yep. But let's see.
You see, I don't mind characters moving on to bigger and better things to leave the series. Like getting a promotion, moving to another ship, and things like that, because they're still alive and well, even though I missed them. But when they kill a character off, it is usually one of my favorites. So I do have a lot of niggles with Trek about that. I mean, that It's never a single series, you know. It's wrong. It really is wrong. But there is one thing that I do want to mention, and that is she an ensign or a lieutenant, Mitchell?
Mitchell. I think she's an ensign.
You know what she said to Pi. You know, with respect, I am not leaving this station until everyone is saved.
Yeah.
You know, you could see her exhaustion.
Absolutely.
She was really struggling, but she was committed and determined. And I have a lot of respect for that woman. I really do like her character. She has a lot of strength behind her. And I'm hoping that we are going to see more of her as the series progresses and like get to know her a little bit better.
No, but of all the like the main bridge characters, if anyone's going to bite the dust, it's probably going to be Laon or Ortegas.
I'm thinking that too.
Yeah,
I was kind
because
of thinking that too.
Chapel
Because
original series, when Bacon made it to original series, like I said, Sam Kirk he dies in the original series, but like Uhura definitely not. Una
I mean,
possibly, but I don't think so. So she's
who
not
do
even
we
on
know?
my list.
Who do we know that flew? Basically, was the helmsman of the original TOS, and who was the
Solo.
person sitting next to him?
Say that again.
The person who flew the Enterprise, and the one that sat next to him. Those two characters. So you still got
Wesley
2 more
or
seasons.
Sulu and Chekhov on it.
Sulu
Yeah.
and Chekhov.
Sulu.
We still,
Yeah.
you still haven't, got the characters of Sulu or Chekhov.
So somebody's gonna have to goodbye.
Oh, let's put it out there to those that are watching, that are just being quiet on the YouTube chat, to see if anyone wants to put in their 2 cents in the conversation, or click the link below and pop in and just tell us live on camera. If you're camera shy, you don't have to turn your camera on, but your microphone will be on. You can do that too.
Join us. Join us.
We got 6 slots available right now, so
Unless I'm scaring you off.
yeah.
But that's a fair.
People are probably too pissed off with me over my rant in a TOS to join us, in all honesty.
They're all TOS fans.
Yeah. They're all secretly
trad.
my name.
They're what would you call them? Trad trekkers. Trad trekkers. Instead of trekkies.
Yeah, but mash that like button, hit subscribes, and that way you can be up to date on all the craziness that we talk about on here.
And Dave, don't forget to plug in, the original Tyson, Mono and Tyson.
Oh yeah,
the upcoming stuff and everything.
Yeah, Dangerous Thoughts with Mono and Tyson. Hopefully, things will be rolling soon. Saying that Manu's taking care of his wife right now until she's got the strength to be alone for a couple hours. But yeah, I haven't been to their house, but it's pristine now, which is great. Well,
and don't forget too, Zach has a channel himself.
Oh yeah, he's got a couple of things going on.
Too much, man. Too much. Like and subscribe to every one of us. Technically Track, The Legacy Right, Dangerous Thoughts, and everything. I don't even know what else are they doing over there. They're gonna be doing a shit ton. They're gonna have multiple shows.
Yeah, hopefully
Yes,
they. I mean, they got a laundry list of new shows that they're
and
gonna
I
put
already know
together.
one of them.
Hmm.
But yeah, it looks great. I
Remember,
might not be able to pop on all of them live because I got other commitments. But at least this Monday,
Not
this is
all of
my
them are going to
commitment.
be live.
No.
Not all of them are
we're
going to
just
be live. The majority of them are going to be pre-recorded and then released. And I think that now, if I remember rightly, unless anything's changed, the
hey,
weeks where there is a special guest on DT, I think that's going to be pre-recorded,
Yeah,
or the
yes,
majority
that's
of
what
them
I think.
are, and then we'll have shows in between um, of various sorts. And I think that there's going to be like one or two in between that are more DT old school, where like anyone and everyone can join, and we'll just
Yeah,
like talk about a couple of topics and things. But there's that was only like brainstorming. I don't know if that is still on the cards. I don't know if that has changed at all.
mm,
But I I do know one of them, but
mm.
I don't want to say anything because I don't know if I can. Um,
I hope we get Mono to come back sometime in the future to come back to technically Trek to talk
oh
about,
yeah. Uh, there's a. I'm being very wishful. And seeing there is like a few Star Trek actors I'd like to reach out to maybe do. It's going to be. It'll definitely be a pre-recorded
When
for that one. So, but
when we
have you
there's
not
one in
reached out
particular.
to him yet?
No.
when are
Oh,
when are we getting on this net? No, just when are we getting on this network?
But no, it's because we were just talking about him earlier, Will Wheaton. So
Oh, Will Wheaton.
I'd love to get
I
him
thought
on
you'd
the
already been
show.
in contact with him.
Hey,
I just got too busy with other things. I haven't had the chance. I want to be sure that I do it right, so I don't look like an idiot.
if you bring Will
But
would like
Wheaton
to
on,
see. I
just
would like
ask
to
him.
see I'd like
Go
to see
ahead.
Will Wheaton and Manu uh be on your show like like both
In
of
a
them,
cage.
where they both can talk and everything else.
hmm,
But like
In a
an interview with both of them where they both talk about and stuff. There's something like that.
yeah,
But Will Wheaton will be good.
have a. I mean, there's
I would
some
prefer a
days
cage match
there's some
between
days
Mono and
Manu is
Will
like,
Wheaton.
what is that, Zach?
I said I prefer the cage match with Manu and Will Wheaton. I also
Mm,
would want if you got to ask one question though.
mm.
If you why was Wesley such a whiny bitch?
Something that Molly will ask. That was something that'd be
He was
something.
whiny because that's what the writers wrote him in as.
It's
Yep,
called only child syndrome
that too. And
and
yeah,
possibly spoiled brat syndrome as well.
I think that's a 7. I think that's a 7 on the Enneagram scale.
Mm,
7 with a wing of
and
an 8, or an
I
8 with
actually
a
adore
wing of
Will
a 7.
Wheaton. Wesley did my editing a lot, but Will Wheaton played the part so well, and I absolutely adore that guy.
Hmm.
And he is just so real. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be very over enthusiastic at times, but he's very real. I mean, I follow him on Instagram, and I think almost every single morning he posts a picture of his bedhead with a different cup of coffee every morning, and
Yeah.
he's he has literally just like rolled out of bed and made himself his morning coffee. And I love that, and I also love his dog Marlowe. Um, so I absolutely adore that guy, and I would love to speak to him.
I
Um,
know I know you're gonna be bringing the show to a conclusion soon, but when we get backstage, I want to throw something out to everybody when we get backstage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we're getting close to the 2 hour mark. So but there's one bit in the Wedding Bell Blues that I really liked when Spock was trying to rile up Sam. It's just like, nobody likes your mustache.
I loved that. I'm just like, please let Sam go shave.
Yeah, they definitely got some of the shade.
Oh, I hope he does, because you see, I love the actor who plays him, and it is just so weird seeing him with that stupid mustache. It doesn't look right. It doesn't suit him, and I've always been used to seeing him clean shaven as well, and so he looks even more weird.
Oh, let me see here.
Don't get me wrong, he was a lot younger, but I've never really seen him with facial hair. Maybe like the odd little bit of stubble, like maybe like a day or two, but that's it. And yeah, I hope he shaves. Please shave. It's kind of like Boimler all over again.
Because I mean, there is a reason why he's got a mustache.
I know. But he still needs to shave.
Say, do you know though? Because I just grabbed. Because when Sam Kirk was introduced in the original series, it was Shatner with a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. You know.
That's terrible. That was just terrible.
It is. It really is. But you know, I know that it's, you know, part of the, you know, but he still needs to shave. They need to recanonize him without a bloody mustache.
Excuse me. But yeah, I'm starting to wind down physically myself. So, is there any closing thoughts either the three of you have on both the episodes?
Oh,
I like that, Zach.
Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a image created for next week's episode, but like I said, it's definitely Klingon related. Almost said Borg related. Just I'm like, yeah, no Borg yet. But
you think the writers might have it though? They changed things.
Yeah, they've changed a lot already, but
they actually do. They really do. You know, the one thing too that we got a little taste of, like we said, we saw, you know, Ortega. She's looking out the window, and you can see the reflection behind her. But she's not flinching. She's not like looking around. She's like just looking out the window, and then you see that creature coming. It's like, oh, it's a Gorn. Oh, okay. And it's just like, there's gonna be a lot more to this, you know, if not next episode, you're gonna see jumping into probably the next.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm actually think this next episode I'll have some closing credits figured out. It won't be much. It's just like, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Tune in next week for our next episode. So something like that. And I'm going to have Becca narrate it.
Very nice.
Yes, yeah, but I got that aspect of it. Now I just got to get the physical, graphical aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
That might be
Zach, it was a pleasure that you came on. It was good to see you for a very long time. I know you got your own thing. Oh, yeah, I know you've been doing your own.
You need to come on more often, Zach. We miss you.
Probably gonna try.
Yeah, I'm sure for you. Dang it, work gets in the way.
Well, no, if you need me to, I can write a very strongly worded email to your employer. You know,
and tell him I quit. Tell him I quit. I'm an entrepreneur now.
There you go.
If that's what you want and need.
Tell them, you know, YouTube is your thing, and you monitorize, and you know, as you go along.
Hey, speaking of entrepreneurship, if y'all want any cups, if you want a coffee cup or a shot glass, Go over to the Legacy Right Etsy store. $20, $20, free shipping. Get yourself a
Yeah.
coffee mug. So,
Okay.
As long as it's packed good and it won't break in transit, we're good on that.
oh, they're
How about
pretty.
how about you just
They
transport it,
packed it pretty well.
just transport it to us? You know, hit the buttons, and you know
Beam
it'll
it,
be on
wish.
beam
the.
me up.
That's what we need. We need a transporter. Come on. The only thing we're slacking there, DARPA. Be Star Trek.
You know, real quick before Dave concludes with the show, back in the '90s, I just seen a commercial on Facebook. There was a Star Trek pin floating in like a little sustained gravity field, like a little field, and it was a commercial about like a office pen. It was it's like in a transporter. It was like a pen like floated in the transporter. And I forgot about that commercial. I was like, oh my God, I remember seeing that. I was like, I wanted one of those because the pen was literally floating in the air because of course it was a magnet, but like in some sort of magnet field or something. But it was neat because they made it look like it to be a transporter because it was suspended in midair. I was like, I forgot about that commercial. I forgot about a lot of '90s commercials that like Hallmark.
There's all the stories I can share from backstage at my TV days. Oh my Lanta. But that is everything. So may Spock be with you. See you next week. Until then, Halo frequencies are now closed.